Today, we learn the mythical, the very difficult bishop and knight checkmate. The bishop and knight checkmate is one of the most difficult checkmates that often comes up. Sometimes it seems that in every single Title Tuesday, someone reaches this endgame, and very often, even a title player is not able to deliver the bishop and knight checkmate in time trouble. It is difficult to deliver this checkmate, and if you make a misstep, it's easily possible that it can take you more than the allotted 50 moves to complete the checkmate. If you don't succeed within 50 moves, the game will be declared a draw. So, there are some steps that you can follow to consistently deliver the bishop and knight checkmate. First, you must drive the opponent's king to the edge of the board. Now, a sensible defender is going to run to the corner that your bishop does not control. Here, one of these two corners. At this point, you're going to have to push the king from that corner into one of the corners that your bishop does control. I have a dark squared bishop here, so I must eventually drive the opponent's king to the dark squared corner. As I drive the opponent's king there, I will have to use a sophisticated W maneuver. Once I succeed in driving the opponent's king to that corner, I'll be able to arrange a bishop and knight checkmate, as we shall see. The first phase is not necessarily the most difficult, but it's perhaps the least intuitive. You must use your bishop and knight in conjunction with the king to slowly drive the opponent's king back toward the edge of the board. Now, as you do this, try to lead with your king as much as possible, but you will have to use your bishop and knight in conjunction to take away squares from the opponent's king and gradually push that king back. Now, as the king is pushed back, the sensible defender will try to run to the corner that your bishop does not control. That's going to be this corner in this particular case. Continue to use your king to try and take away squares and approach. At this point, we're doing quite well, and we need to improve the position of our knight. The knight is going to be the piece that has to drive the king out of the corner once he gets there, so we'll have to bring our knight to one of these squares. I'm simply going to bring my knight around in this direction, bring it to e4, and now I can head to either of these squares. I'm going to go for this one in this particular case, taking away this square, and once I've done that, I must then take away this square with my bishop so the king is driven towards the corner where I can checkmate him. At this point, I need to use a W maneuver. Basically, that is maneuvering with the knight in this path here and eventually over here, and that will allow me to drive the king to the edge of the board. There's a particular geometry here that really must be remembered very carefully, and we'll point it out as we get there. First, I'm taking this square away with my knight. Knight over here. At this point, I need to approach with my king to support my knight going to this square. And now it seems like the opponent's king is getting away, and if I don't make the accurate move here, then I probably won't checkmate the opponent's king in the allotted number of moves. I need to take away this square, and I can do that by bringing my bishop back. And now the opponent's king is trying to run out here. I do have control of that with my bishop, but I think what's most sensible is simply bringing the bishop here. The constellation you need to remember in this W maneuver is the knight being here controlling the light square and this bishop being on this line controlling the dark squares. Together they make a barrier, and with your king, your opponent's king is firmly trapped. At this point, I'm going to bring the bishop back, and finally the king is pushed back because I took away these squares. Now, I can simply bring my king up the side of the board, and as the king tries to run in this direction, I don't have to worry because my bishop and knight are perfectly controlling the king. Bring the bishop over, basically making a waiting move, and I can kind of repeat the maneuver that I did in the corner, where the knight was earlier here keeping the king out of the corner. Now it's here preventing the king from running back to that corner, and again I can use my bishop to push the king further up the board. Now, this is the second leg of the W maneuver, bringing the knight over here. Again, the W is this maneuver. Now I can bring my knight over here with check, pushing the king back, and my king can slide up the board. It's clear I'm making progress, and the king is pushed into the corner. If the king had come here instead of going into the corner, then I could have given this bishop check and the king would have been pushed back. At this point, I'm ready to start setting up the final checkmate. And the easiest way to do this is to bring the knight around to this square right here and eventually give checkmate with the bishop on the long diagonal. That's why we must have the king in the corner that our bishop controls. So I'll bring the knight over here. Now, of course, I'm never going to let the opposing king get back out here. I'll have to restart. So I control that square with my bishop. At this point, I'm not ready to bring the knight here because this would be stalemate if I controlled this square. So I must make a critical waiting move, simply sliding the bishop back. Now I can bring the knight here with check, the king is pushed back into the corner, and I can deliver the final checkmate. I hope that this has been helpful to you. I definitely encourage you to practice this checkmate daily for a while until you feel very, very comfortable with it. Also try it from multiple starting positions and try flipping the board. That way you won't be flustered when you get in a very different position than the one that you've practiced. Good luck in mastering your bishop and knight checkmates.